Welcome to AI World TV, your go-to destination for everything artificial intelligence. Discover the captivating landscape of AI, where advanced technology finds real-life application. Subscribe to AI World TV for webzine articles, reports, podcasts, videos, live events, and latest trends. Hear from top industry leaders and discover how AI is transforming industries and our daily lives.
Right now, the biggest tech giants on the planet are just pouring billions of dollars into single computer facilities that require enough electricity to power, like a medium-sized city.
Yeah, the sheer scale of the concrete, the steel, and just the power grid disruption, it's completely rewriting the global economy.
Exactly. And why are they doing it? Well, because the wildly advanced, seemingly omniscient AI chatbot sitting on your phone right now doesn't actually know what an apple is.
Right. It's the ultimate paradox of where we are in tech today. I mean, we've built systems capable of passing the bar exam in seconds, yet they completely lack the physical intuition of a toddler.
It's wild. But anyway, welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a stack of sources today that is honestly as fascinating as it is, well, a little chaotic.
Highly chaotic.
For real. We've got comprehensive reports from the AI World Journal, this is dated March 2026, sitting right next to a barrage of mainstream headlines and investment strategies. And the mission today is to just cut through the digital hype.
Which is so necessary right now.
Right. We want to look at the physical reality of artificial intelligence right now, starting from its absolute cognitive limits all the way down to its billion-dollar concrete footprints.
Because if you only pay attention to the software releases, the slick keynotes, you are missing the massive grinding collision happening between virtual ambitions and physical constraints.
Yeah, and whether you are an investor trying to figure out where to park your money, like we have this Motley Fool article here about how to safely split a $10,000 AI investment, or, if you're just a curious learner trying to navigate this space, these sources paint a wildly unexpected picture of the future.
They really do.
So here's where it gets really interesting. On one hand, the narrative is that AI is just taking over the world. But on the other hand, the data shows it is simultaneously struggling to follow basic everyday instructions.
And we really have to look past the chat interfaces to understand why that breakdown is happening, because the first piece of the puzzle isn't the hardware, it's the cognitive architecture itself.
Okay, so let's unpack this cognitive wall first. The AI World Journal just published this major piece called The Intelligence Illusion, the Next AI Revolution, Why Machines Must Learn to Understand the Real World.
Right.
And they pair this with a concept called physical AI and the forgotten lesson of object permanence. Now, when I hear object permanence, I think of playing peekaboo with a baby.
Exactly. If you hide your face, the baby literally thinks you cease to exist.
Right. The baby hasn't learned that objects continue to exist even when they can't be observed.
And applying this to artificial intelligence is incredibly revealing about the limitations of our current models.
It really is. And the symptoms of this limitation are hitting the mainstream hard. Like, we've got a Guardian study here showing that AI chatbots are increasingly ignoring human instructions.
Just totally disregarding parameters.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's a Boston Globe study finding that these same chatbots are confidently giving terrible, sometimes dangerous advice.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was trying to wrap my head around why a supercomputer would do this. And tell me if this analogy holds up, okay?
Let's hear it.
Current generative AI feels like a brilliant scholar who has been locked inside a library their entire life. They have read every single text ever written about apples. They can recite the chemical composition of an apple, the agricultural history, the poetry.
Well, I've never actually held one.
Exactly. Because they lack any physical context, they have no idea what an apple actually feels like. They don't know how it crunches.
Right.
So without that physical grounding, is this why the chatbots are suddenly giving bad advice? Like, they literally don't know how the real world works.
That library scholar analogy actually gets right to the heart of what the journal calls the intelligence illusion.
Okay.
The critical missing piece is the feedback loop of reality. I mean, the large language models you interact with are incredibly sophisticated prediction engines. They are mathematically calculating the next logical word in a sequence based on vast oceans of text data.
Right, predicting the next word.
But predicting words is fundamentally different from actually understanding reality.
So to the AI, the word apple isn't a fruit. It's just a mathematical token that frequently appears near the word tree or red.
Yes. They know the map, but they have never walked the territory.
Wow.
And without physical AI, which is the integration of physical, spatial, and sensory understanding into these systems, generative AI eventually hits a ceiling.
It hits a wall.
Exactly. When you ask a chatbot a complex, novel question about how two physical objects interact, it defaults to predicting text that simply sounds highly plausible.
Because it wants to give you an answer.
Right, but it has no physical feedback loop to verify if its answer is physically possible. And that's why they start ignoring specific constraints or giving advice that, in the real world, is totally absurd.
The intelligence illusion, I mean, it sounds incredibly smart, but the foundation is hollow because it's completely disembodied.
Which means the next major leap in AI, getting these digital minds to actually understand the physical world, it requires feeding them an unimaginable amount of real-world multimodal data.
Like what?
Like video, spatial mapping, audio, physics simulations, all processed in real time.
And you can't process the physical world in the cloud without building massive physical structures on the ground.
No, you cannot.
Which shifts us from the cognitive limits directly into the concrete reality. We have a report here on the global powerhouses, top 10 AI data centers fueling the future, and the numbers are just staggering.
Staggering is the right word for it.
Crusoe, for example, is expanding its Abilene AI campus with a new AI factory specifically for Microsoft.
Yeah.
And the power requirement is 900 megawatts.
Yeah.
Wait, let me just stop there. 900 megawatts. That is the power consumption of a medium-sized city for one single computer facility. Are we sure about that number? Or is this just the tech industry over-promising to hype up their stock prices?
You know, the 900 megawatt figure is very real. And to understand why a single facility needs the power of a city, we have to look at the fundamental shift happening in how AI actually operates.
Okay.
The industry is moving from the training phase to the inference phase.
Okay, I hear those terms thrown around constantly.
Yeah.
Training versus inference. What is the actual mechanical difference on the hardware side?
So think of training as sending the AI to medical school.
Okay.
It is a massive batch processing event where you crunch billions of data points over several months to set the model's neural weights. It is incredibly energy intensive, but it has a finish line. You graduate the model.
Right. So training is like a one-time massive heavy lift.
Exactly. But inference is what happens after graduation. Inference is the AI acting as a doctor, seeing hundreds of patients sequentially every single second of every single day.
Oh, wow.
Every time you ask a chatbot a question on your phone, every time an autonomous system makes a calculation, every time an AI generates an image, that is inference.
That makes so much sense.
And what the AI World Journal points out is that AI...
You are listening to the AI World Podcast, your trusted source for the latest innovations, insights, and trends in artificial intelligence, blockchain, fintech, and decentralized technologies. Each episode features expert interviews, engaging discussions, and in-depth analysis of how AI transforms industries worldwide. Stay ahead of the curve with the latest articles and exclusive reports from the AI World Journal, covering everything from emerging technologies to industry breakthroughs. For more news, global events, and access to AI World Society circle gatherings, visit us at aiworld.tv. Don't forget to subscribe to stay informed, stay connected, and be part of the AI revolution with AI World Lounge. Thank you for listening.
Inference is rapidly becoming the ultimate permanent stress test for global data centers.
Because inference never stops.
Yeah.
It's just a constant, infinite demand on the server.
And the complexity of that demand is exploding because we are moving to those multimodal systems we talked about.
The video and the spatial mapping.
Right. When you ask an AI to process real-time video feeds alongside text and audio, the servers inside these data centers have to talk to each other at speeds that traditional copper wiring simply cannot handle.
Why not?
Because copper cables melt, or they cause massive latency bottlenecks when you have 100,000 processors all trying to sync up at once.
Is that why the sources keep emphasizing scalable optical connectivity?
Yeah.
I was reading that and just assuming we meant fiber optic internet, which, we've had for decades.
Right, we've had fiber for long-haul internet.
Yeah.
But inside the data center itself, servers historically talk to each other over copper.
Oh, I see.
Now, to handle the bandwidth of AI inference, they literally have to use light to transfer data between the actual chips.
That is insane.
It is. And replacing the internal nervous system of a data center with scalable optical connectivity is wildly expensive. That's why you see headlines like Align Data Centers closing a massive $2.58 billion credit facility just to build 6 new centers.
$2.58 billion, just for the physical buildings, the cooling systems, and the server racks.
And it is completely upending the hardware market. Because inference requires a different architectural approach than training, new players are aggressively moving in.
Right, like we saw in the sources.
Yeah, AMD just scored a landmark deal with OpenAI, which mounts a major challenge to NVIDIA's historical dominance in AI chips.
Which is huge news.
Huge. Meanwhile, you have companies like Veritone leaning heavily into Oracle Cloud to build out massive data pipelines, simply because the sheer volume of unstructured, multimodal data required for inference is just too vast for legacy cloud architectures to manage.
So we are building these 900-megawatt digital cities, rewiring their internals with lasers, and spending billions just to keep the chatbots answering our questions.
Pretty much.
But you can't just plug a 900-megawatt facility into the local power grid without someone noticing.
Yeah.
And you certainly can't do it without someone paying the electric bill.
No, and the friction between virtual ambitions and physical constraints is now a highly political issue. The tech industry is hitting the unforgiving limits of public infrastructure.
Which is perfectly captured in this headline about the Trump administration's ratepayer protection pledge. And just looking at the mechanics of this policy impartially, it fundamentally shifts the economics of AI infrastructure.
It really does.
Because normally, if a utility company needs to upgrade the grid, say, build a massive new electrical substation for a new factory, they socialize that cost. They pass the cost onto the everyday consumer's monthly electric bill.
But the ratepayer protection pledge forces the hyperscalers, the Amazons, the Microsofts, the Googles, to take on those grid costs themselves to protect everyday consumers.
And if you suddenly have to internalize the cost of the public power grid upgrades required to support your 900-megawatt facility, your profit margins and your return on investment timelines look very, very different.
It changes the entire math of the AI boom. For years, the assumption in Silicon Valley was that software could just scale infinitely and cheaply. I mean, code is basically free to replicate.
Right, copy and paste.
But AI isn't just software anymore. It is a heavy industry. You are dealing with the procurement of high-voltage transformers, securing water rights for cooling towers, navigating local zoning laws.
And it doesn't stop with just the power grid. Tech giants are starting to look like independent utility states. CalMatters is reporting that tech companies are spending more than ever to shape California politics, trying to secure favorable conditions for their infrastructure.
It's a massive lobbying effort.
And then on a national security level, the New York Times reports that the Pentagon actually labeled Anthropic, one of the premier AI developers, a supply chain risk.
Yeah, that was a huge moment.
Now, a judge has temporarily stayed that decision. But the fact that it happened at all highlights what the journal calls the battle for AI tech dominance.
And the Pentagon's concern makes perfect sense if you view AI as heavy industry.
How so?
Well, if AI inference engines are going to run the global economy managing logistics, power grids, financial markets, then relying on foreign hardware components or opaque supply chains to build those data centers becomes a critical national security vulnerability.
It's wild. The biggest hurdles to the AI revolution aren't writing better code. The hurdles are getting the permits to pour concrete, securing enough electricity to power small nations without blacking out local neighborhoods, and navigating a geopolitical landscape that views your servers as critical national security infrastructure.
The virtual world is completely tethered to the friction of the physical world.
But while they are battling governments over the electrical grid, these tech giants are making incredibly aggressive moves on a totally different kind of grid. The human one.
Right.
And this brings us to a part of the stack that directly affects almost everyone listening. They are fundamentally rewiring education, labor, and the corporate ladder.
The infrastructure of human capital is being overhauled just as aggressively as the data centers.
Oh, absolutely. The Washington Post has a piece right here noting that Elon Musk and several other billionaires are openly discussing a future where human labor is obsolete.
Which is a terrifying thought for a lot of people.
And we are seeing the anxiety of that transition everywhere. CNBC reports that major outgoing CEOs are explicitly citing AI as a factor in their decisions to step down. The pressure to adapt your entire company to this new paradigm is just burning out the top of the corporate ladder.
It's a heavy burden for leadership right now. Generative AI is rapidly transforming B2B and B2C marketing. Banking automation is accelerating at a breakneck pace, and we have reports on medical AI advisors detailing how AI systems and doctors are teaming up to completely transform patient care and diagnostics.
Even legacy brands are feeling the heat. The LA Times notes that Yahoo is betting everything on AI and its new tool, Scout, just to survive the transition. It's adapt or die across the board.
It really is.
But as I was reading through these sources, I hit a massive contradiction. I'm trying to connect these dots, so walk with me here.
Sure.
We have billionaires openly saying they want to make human labor obsolete. Right. But simultaneously, there is a massive movement happening in higher education. Tech giants are flooding colleges with free AI training programs.
It was a very, very deliberate strategy.
Look at this. Alabama A&M University, AIMU, was just named a regional lead for the Amazon Web Services Machine Learning University. Idaho is advancing a statewide AI education bill because, as lawmakers put it, the genie's out of the bottle.
Right.
So hang on. They want to end human labor, but they're pouring money into college pipelines. Why would they? Oh, wait. Are they trying to create a modern company town?
That is exactly what you were looking at.
Wow.
The modern company town doesn't own the physical houses or the local grocery store anymore. They own the cognitive toolkit.
Right. They aren't teaching general platform agnostic computer science. They're teaching college kids how to use their specific tools.
Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they are flooding colleges with so-called free training because they want a workforce trained explicitly on their proprietary cloud ecosystems and their specific AI models.
That makes total sense.
AI isn't simply taking jobs in some binary sci-fi way. What the sources reveal is a massive restructuring of dependency.
Right.
At the top, you have executive burnout. But at the bottom, we are seeing a massive educational land grab.
A land grab for young minds. By training the next generation of developers exclusively on AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, they ensure that the future workforce is utterly dependent on their platforms to be productive.
They capture the pipeline. They aren't eliminating human labor. They are ensuring that every ounce of future human productivity has to pass through their proprietary tool booth.
That is brilliant and slightly terrifying. It's the ultimate monopoly. You don't just own the software, you own the way the workforce thinks about solving problems.
It is the business model of the 21st century. You control the physical infrastructure, and you control the educational pipeline that operates it.
Okay, I want to take a second and look at the big picture here, because the journey we just took through this stack of sources is kind of mind-bending.
It's a lot to take in.
If you think about the device you're listening to this on right now, the AI inside of it is hitting a cognitive limit. It suffers from the intelligence illusion because it lacks object permanence and a genuine understanding of the physical world.
Right.
Yet, to overcome that limit, to process the multimodal reality required for physical AI, the industry is forcing the physical world to adapt to it.
Exactly.
They're building $2.5 billion data centers. They are fighting with the government over who pays the electricity bill for 900-megawatt AI factories. And they are entirely reshaping the college education system to build a workforce trained exclusively on their proprietary tools.
It is an infrastructure build-out on a scale and at a speed we haven't seen since the creation of the interstate highway system.
Yeah.
But connecting all these dots brings us to a final, frankly staggering question. If we go all the way back to the very first premise of our deep dive.
The intelligence illusion.
Yes. The AI World Journal argues that current AI architectures, the generative prediction models we are scaling up so aggressively today, are fundamentally nearing their cognitive limits.
Right. They can't actually understand the real world.
Exactly. They cannot achieve a physical understanding of the real world using their current mathematical approach. So what happens to the trillions of dollars currently pouring into infrastructure?
Oh, wow. I see where you're going with this.
If achieving true physical AI requires completely different foundational architecture than the large language models we are using today, will these massive 900-megawatt AI factories become obsolete before the concrete even dries?
Are we building the world's most expensive physical monuments to a software paradigm that has already hit a wall?
The hardware we are building today is highly optimized for the software of today. If the software needs to fundamentally change to overcome the intelligence illusion, the physical sunk cost of the current AI boom could be the biggest financial miscalculation in human history.
That is a massive concept. I mean, are the multi-billion-dollar data centers of today destined to become the Rust Belt ghost towns of tomorrow? That is exactly what we are going to leave you to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this custom deep dive. Keep questioning the physical reality behind the digital hype, look past the slick interfaces, and as always, keep asking the big questions.
The future of artificial intelligence is unfolding, and it's happening at AI World Week, the flagship global event for innovation, collaboration, and transformation. This flagship global AI event is designed to connect visionary leaders, trailblazing entrepreneurs, and influential thinkers to explore the endless possibilities of AI. Experience groundbreaking technology that redefines industries and inspires progress. Join thought-provoking discussions on ethical AI, digital equity, and the transformative role of technology in our world. Build meaningful connections that catalyze innovation and drive impact. AI World Week is powered by AI World Society, a global movement dedicated to advancing AI responsibly and ensuring it serves humanity. Together, we're shaping a smarter, more inclusive, and equitable future. Continue your journey beyond the event with the AI World Journal, offering expert insights, in-depth analysis, and the latest trends shaping the AI landscape. This is your opportunity to lead, to innovate, and to transform the world with AI. AI World Week. We invite you to join us and embrace the AI revolution.